What is the stupidest thing you've heard someone say that they were 100% serious about? If Earth is spinning, then why my front door is always facing east? I think this broke my brain. Honestly needed to process that one for a sec, lol. Some random girl on the elevator pointed out how ridiculous it is that we add a button for the floor we were already on. People who build shit are so stupid, she said with 100% seriousness. That sounds like someone who's only experienced customizable interfaces like smartphones. That could be a justification. The idea of one button equals one function is fading because now is old dynamic stuff. Dude, the last few times I was in a building with an elevator, the buttons were replaced by little iPad-like devices, and you just push your floor from the tablet. And yeah, obviously your current floor and any floors that were not for visitors were not accessible on the table before you even board. At the elevator and inside the elevator there were no buttons. I hope this won't be the future though. I'm terrified of elevator malfunctions, and smartphone-style tech seems to malfunction much more often than just regular buttons. In college, my teaching assistant in my dinosaurs class insisted that roadrunners weren't real and laughed at me for suggesting it as an answer for a bird that runs fast. But the real dummy was me, because I've seen one in real life and I still said oh, okay. In grade 6, my class read a poem about ptarmigans where every word starting with T was changed to PT. The teacher said that ptarmigans were a made-up animal. I countered that they were a type of Arctic bird, so he sent me to the school library to find evidence. I came back with an encyclopedia too. Read to the entry for ptarmigan, and he read it out to the class and told everyone that teachers don't know everything and they should never be afraid to speak up. One of the best teachers I ever had. Thanks, Murphy. That's awesome. I love that he wasn't afraid to admit he was wrong. I've never heard of a ptarmigan, so I learned something new. Fun ptarmigan fact: the town of Chicken, Alaska was meant to be named Ptarmigan, but no one could agree how to spell it, so they ended up going with Chicken. Blueberry muffins you buy pre-made don't have any blueberries in them. Blueberries cost too much. They dye bees blue because they have the same texture and use them. He has explained it to multiple people multiple times. I love that getting bees and dyeing them blue apparently costs less than just using blueberries. This is why the bees are fucking dying. No, dying. I knew that from the get-go, then proceeded to argue that it was definitely gecko and not get-go. Peas, I now only say from the get-go because that shit's hilarious. Art. Bonapledia moment. This is glorious. Thank you for sharing my new favorite sub also. I will as well be using from the get-go. Holy crap. How can Hawaii and Alaska have such different temperatures when they are right next to each other on the map? In a similar vein, Alaska is an island. When you just make Canada on something like a state map, it kinda looks that way. Now tell them how close it is to Russia and watch the real confusion set in. When I was in Germany on a rotation, they actually put on an incredible fireworks display for us. So did the Afghans. Used flares from their little lookout thingies around the fob when I was deployed. I was astonished and then extremely touched in both scenarios. Germans fucking love fireworks. I've been living in Germany a bit over a year, and this past New Year's was my first time witnessing the sheer glee Germans reserve for blowing up the sky. For reference, I live in tiny town, started at 6 p.m. by 8 p.m. The sky was almost continuously exploding at 11 p.m. It calmed down a tiny bit until midnight. At midnight everything went insane, and it was pretty much a solid hour of explosions from every single corner of my town. This went on until 3 a.m. I'm just glad I wasn't in Berlin. It straight up turns into a war zone for the entire night. People firing fireworks at each other with blank firing pistols and so on. Total chaos. I highly recommend looking up some videos. It's completely absurd. The sheer glee Germans reserve for blowing up the sky. Welp, sorry, force of habit. I was on a date at an art museum. The painting tag said who it was made by the title and made circa 1600, and she said, "Do you think the earth was even round back then? You just never really know." Were you on a date with Philomena Kunk? Haha. It was painted centuries before the release of the unrelated Belgian techno anthem Pump Up the Jam and the classic British sitcom Brushstrokes. That ceiling fan dust was the cause of cancer. Like cancer actually did not exist until ceiling fans collected dust and it fell off. Bro. This wound up being one of the last times I talked to him. Great guy and all, but holy hell. He had all sorts of wild stories and just dumb stuff, and I couldn't do it any longer. Those fools asked if they could cool rooms with a gentle breeze, but doomed society by not caring whether they should. Maybe too obscure, but anyway, I was the radiation safety office for our lab group many years ago and was telling one of our more truly brilliant, not being sarcastic PhDs that his badge came up hot, meaning his technique was bad and he was going to have to be retrained, and he said, "It doesn't affect me. I'm done having my children." Like being careless with radioactive isotopes can only affect your gonads and not, IDK, give you fucking cancer. And before too long, they'll be done having their dad. Damn, that's better than my response. Oh, good, are you done having bone cancer too, 'cause that's what's gonna happen. Yeah bro, it says carbonated because they removed the carbs while standing in line at a drugstore. Best eavesdrop of my life. That's ridiculous. If that were the case, it would just read as onated. Yeah bro, it's called detonated because they removed the det. Can you email me back the PDF I emailed you? It's my only copy. My most recent boss, print out that thing I just emailed you and scan it and send it to so-and-so. The amount of stuff I watched her print and scan so she could attach the scan to an email. I like to imagine a long chain of people all doing this until this horrific, pixelated eldritch abomination of a document lands on the desk of the last person. And that is the copy that is sent to a print shop for printing. I don't have an email, I have a Gmail. Fuck call center work. I remember when Gmail started getting big. My grandmother thought it was the latest version of email because G is later in the alphabet than E. Honestly, not an unreasonable leap of logic. Exactly, that's not stupid, it's fairly reasonable if we have successive Wi-Fi standards like 802.11b, then 802.11 grams, 802.11 north, etc. Why not email, Gmail, and mail? My sister's friend after meeting my fiancée for the first time. Where is she from? Me, she was born here in the States, but she's Cambodian. Her, oh my god, you can't be with her. They eat people. Me. Long blank stare. I think you're thinking of cannibals. Her. Long blank stare. What's the difference? Same woman was shocked to find out we believed in space, as in the planets and stars and galaxies. She thought half the sky was light and half the sky was dark and the planets spinning inside the atmosphere is why we had night and day, and that there was nothing else out there. By far the dumbest person I've ever met. I have so many more stories about her. More stories, please. She worked for a collections agency for a short time and initially had some of the highest percentages of successful repayment plans set up until the complaints started pouring in. She was threatening people with going to their houses to fight them or belittling people for being pathetic because th. debts they weren't paying. When she was called into a meeting with the bosses and HR and her calls were played back as reasons for her being let go, she was asked why she would do that when at the beginning of every call it was stated that the calls were being recorded for quality control. She said she thought that was just something they had to say because the company saw it in the movies and wanted to sound the same, but since there wasn't a camera filming her, it wasn't real. Sometimes I wonder how some people make it into adulthood. How do we know it wasn't just ostriches on the radar that triggered Pearl Harbor, my dude, WHAT? Unless the Japanese strapped bombs to the ostriches and dropped them on Pearl Harbor, he's mistaken. Well, we know their relatives, the emu, are fairly handy in combat. Just ask my government how handy. I work in construction and my rigger told me he doesn't believe in gravity with 100% seriousness. Mind you, his job is to rig tens of thousands of pounds of steel, so it doesn't fall when moving it with a crane. Edit, steel. I'd like to believe that maybe he's somehow just confused as to what gravity means. I can't get my head around how the idea that gravity isn't real even works. Like, why does he think things fall down when dropped? His exact words were, "You know, I don't believe in gravity. It's just weight. Things weigh different amounts, fall at different speeds." Then I dropped a sledgehammer and a file at the same time to show that they've bought at the same speed, and he said, "Well, you dropped them at different times, so I'm mad." Him do it, and then when he did it and again they landed at the same time. He said, "All right, you might be onto something there." That's so funny, him just casually accepting that he is wrong. Fish aren't animals, they're mammals. And dolphins are fish, obviously. I was going 30 and a 30. Police officer pulled me over and claimed I was going 50. The dashcam footage of the police officer showed that the officer was going 40 to close the distance and pull me over. Some genius on Facebook said, if you were go 30, then why did the officer have to go 40 to catch you? I'm likely if by some bizarre circumstance that you're actually being serious here. You have to go faster than whatever it is you're following in order to catch up. You have to go faster than whatever it is you're following in order to catch up. Big if true. Yeah, sounds fake but okay. Once had someone try to sell me the theory that the moon is a hologram made by the government to trick people. Had to do something after we destroyed it following the moon landing. Gotta stop those goddamn science somehow. Women have 6 ovaries, my 46-year-old sister. I wonder where my other 4 went. You lose one every time you have premarital sex. I have minus 3,476 ovaries. At one of my first jobs as a graphic designer, a client called me into his office and pulled up a photo he took. He then asked me if I could turn it around. No, not rotate it, but turn the viewpoint around. He wanted to see what was behind the camera when he originally took the photo. God, I have so many stories from that job. Tell more, I'm an artist and damn, do people have a misguided idea of what we can do. My favorites are the people who want horizontal content put in a vertical space but without altering any of it. Oh my God, yes, I know exactly what you mean. Let's see. I had a client once respond to a proof I had sent over via email by printing out the proof and drawing up edits onto it and then sending it to us via post office. She had to use her email just to access the proof. She was already halfway there. Lol. Wahaha, oh my god, yes, the craziest stories I have. Unfortunately, I can't share because they're so out there and unique. I'm afraid someone will recognize me just by me repeating them. Like, on one project I had to organize a party on top of a mountain in West Virginia, and I ended up trying to resuscitate a dying trout. Yes, this is the art life, it's not just drawing. Got into an argument with a guy that thought limes were unripe lemons. He had so much conviction that by the end I was beginning to question my own knowledge. That's how they get ya.